So in the today's session, let's talk about enterprise structure. It means when we are doing the implementation for any client, how you have to bring their business environment into system environment. Okay, how they are doing the business, how that business can be mapped into system environment to manage the data accordingly. So that we call as enterprise structure. Before we talk about what exactly enterprise structure we have as per EB fusion applications, let's focus on few points. Okay, let's focus on few points. When you take any organization, the organization data can be classified into different classifications. Okay, the organization data you can categorize and you can maintain in the system with the different classifications. Primarily, the classifications are employee data. Okay, you have to maintain the employee data in the system related to any organization, and the legal or say registration data and business transactions data and warehouse data. So this is a very broad level classification for any organization data. So look at any organization, you have to maintain the organization employees data and the registration data, how that, where that got registered, what are the business transactions you perform, that you have to report to government, the company registration information you have to maintain. And business transactions, the transaction can be any business transaction, that those may be related to purchasing and payments and sales and receiving the payments. It could be anything. All you have to maintain as a business transactions. Warehouse data, what are the stock they are maintaining in the inventory, that data also you have to maintain as a part of organization. This is a very broad level classification. So to maintain this data in the system environment, okay, to maintain this data in the system environment, Oracle is giving the certain options in the system environment. If you want to maintain your employees information, you have a concept called as enterprise. You can create the enterprise. The employees are belongs to which enterprise, which organization you can maintain in the system. To maintain the company registration information in the system, we have a concept called as legal entity. With the legal entity concept, you can maintain the registration, company registration information in the system. To record the business transactions in the system environment, we have a concept called as business unit. And here one more point. First, I'll take you through how this can be handled in the fusion application. The guys who are from the EBS background, to correlate with the EBS, we will discuss that how that is a different and how it is similar, those points after completing this fusion based discussion. Okay. To record the business transactions in the system environment, we have a concept called as business unit. And to maintain the warehouse related information in the system, in the application environment, we can create inventory organization. Say IO. Okay. So these are the different definitions we create in the system environment so that the relevant information can be managed in the system as per the business. To maintain the employee information, we use the concept called as enterprise. To maintain the company registration information in the system, we have to create the legal entities in the system. To record and to maintain the business transactions in the system environment, we require the business unit. And to maintain the warehouse related information in the system, we have to create inventory organization. Apart from this, there are a few other components also we have to create in the system. We'll discuss those. Fine. So here, so wherever whatever it is the level, any level, if you want to record the transactions, we need primary ledger. That already we discussed. We need Primary ledger. With the help of primary ledger, you can record the transactions. Maybe employee related transactions you want to record, you need primary ledger. Maybe legal related transactions you want to record, you need primary ledger. The core business transactions you may record within the business unit, you need primary ledger. You may perform inventory related transactions within the inventory organization, you need primary ledger. So this primary ledger also required. As per Fusion applications, what is the enterprise structure, we'll see accordingly where this primary ledger will fit into, how the structure can be designed. We will go through all those points. Okay, so I just prepared one simple document, but I could not complete with the detailed information, but whatever I prepared will go through, rest we can discuss detail. Okay, the same whatever I was talking about, I just take it here. The data, organization data can be classified into these 4 categories of data. One is employee data. Employee data means employee records, payrolls, transactions, etc. That we have to maintain separately. And registration data, company registration records for the tax reporting purpose. And business transaction data, where you record the purchase orders, invoices, payments, sales orders, billing, receipts, etc. And warehouse or inventory data, inventory stock or inventory transaction. This is how the broad level classification you can go with for any organization data. So the same how you can bring into the system to maintain this classification of data, what we have to create in the system environment. To maintain the employees information, employee data, we have a enterprise concept. And to maintain the registration data in the system, we have a legal entity concept. And to record the business transaction in the system environment, we have a concept called as business unit. And for maintain the warehouse data, we have a concept called as inventory organization. Okay, so these are the different classifications data you can maintain within the system with these definitions. By creating enterprise, you can maintain employees data. With a legal entity, you can maintain registration data. With the business unit concept, you can record the business transactions in the system. With inventory organization concept, you can maintain the warehouse data. I have certain points to discuss. Once I complete, you can go with your questions. Okay, so I'll complete and I'll ask you to come up with your questions. Okay, just give me some time to complete few points. So this is the actual enterprise structure which Oracle is giving. Okay, as a part of Fusion applications, this is how you have to create the enterprise structure when you are going to do the implementation for any client. When you look at the enterprise structure, on the top level we have enterprise. Under enterprise we have a divisions. Under divisions we have a primary ledger. Under primary ledger, legal entity. Under legal entities, business unit. Under business units, inventory organization. This is a standard structure which application follows, as well as which we have to understand. And we are going to do the implementation for any client. This is the standard enterprise structure in the Fusion applications. Okay, let's take the same points into spreadsheet so that we can discuss more detailed level. Okay. So enterprise, division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, inventory organization. Right. So primary ledger PL, legal entity LE, business unit BU, inventory organization IO. So at enterprise level, what data we have to maintain? Employees data. Okay, to maintain the employees data, we are using the enterprise. Primary ledger, what purpose? To record the transactions across any level. Any level, if you want to record the transactions, this is required to record the transactions. Legal entity for registration information. When you say transaction within the primary ledger only, you can have a periods and dates and currency and chart of accounts information that is required to create the transactions. Okay. And business unit to record the business transactions. To record these business transactions only, this primary ledger is required, the same as written as the transactions. And inventory organization, we require to record the inventory transaction, warehouse transaction. Stock and so just to maintain the stock and inventory related transactions. Okay, to record the business transaction. Fine. This is a standard enterprise structure. This we call as enterprise structure. Okay, we are not going to compare with EBS now. After completing this, what is how enterprise structure we have? If you compare with EBS, how it is similar or different, those we will discuss after some time. Okay. Fine. So this is the enterprise structure we have in the Fusion application. This is a hierarchy we have to follow. Since we are writing in the spreadsheet, I am not marking this hierarchy, which is under what, but I written in the same sequence. Top level we have enterprise, under enterprise division, under division primary ledger, under primary ledger legal entity, under legal entity business unit, under business unit inventory organization. If you look at enterprise, the purpose is to manage the employees' information. If you look at primary ledger we have to use everywhere to record the transactions. Okay, the primary ledger can be used to record the enterprise level employee related transactions or legal related transactions or core business transactions or inventory related transactions. That is the purpose. Legal entity for registration data, business unit for business transaction, inventory for stock and transactional data. What about division? What Oracle is giving? Here we cannot maintain any data. You cannot perform anything here. Okay, so in the enterprise structure, this is an optional unit. When you are creating enterprise, division is not mandatory, rest all are mandatory. So division you can use for logical segregation or physical segregation. Say for example, you are running the business across the different countries. If you are running the business across the countries, that division you can use to segregate the geographical areas. Or else if you are running the multiple businesses, each vertical of business you can take as a one division. Say the client is into two different businesses. One is consulting services and the second business is automobiles. So automobiles you can take as one division and consulting you can take as another division. So this is how you can use the division concept for the structuring your enterprise business, so that division you may use for internal reporting purpose, under which division or how much business we did. But at division level you cannot record any business transactions. That is the reason the division concept is optional. If you look at real implementation, mostly you see no client is using the division concept as a part of enterprise structure. If some clients want to track the data, if they want to include division as a part of each and every business transaction, ideally division can be created within the chart of account as one of the segments, so that they will be able to account each and every transaction division level also. If they have a division as a part of enterprise structure, there is no great advantage. Okay, this is how we have. I'll take you through few slides. Once we go through those slides, we'll discuss few more points. Then if you have any questions, I'll take based on the point of what are the points we will be completed by that time. So this is the actual enterprise structure in the Fusion applications. Now I'll go with the simple example. I taken here simple case. Okay, there is an enterprise called as ERPTREE Enterprise, and they are doing the two different businesses. Those are consulting and electronics. Those two you can create as a two different divisions. Okay, ERPTREE consulting division and ERPTREE electronics divisions. And since they are doing the business in US, only one primary ledger, ERPTREE USA primary ledger. To run these two businesses in US, say they have a separate registration. If they have a separate registration, separate legal entities. Consulting legal entity, electronics legal entity. And under this consulting, okay, with this registration, they are running the business in two locations. One is New York, other one is Dallas. For these two locations business, they have a two business units. And to support each business unit, say they have a different store. So since this is a consulting business, they may not have a real inventories. Those may be just stores where they maintain the stationery, etc., etc. And when it comes to electronics business, they have a registration US separate registration, and they are doing the business in two different locations. One is Austin, other one is Los Angeles. So for Austin business, we have computers inventory. For Los Angeles, we have two inventories. One is computers, other one is mobiles. So this I am taking the simple case. Client is running the business in US, and they have a two different businesses. For two different businesses, they have a two separate registrations. Under each registration, they have a under each registration, they are running the business in two different locations. To support those business, they have a specific inventory organizations. Accordingly, I just taken this example. Now I taken the division concept based on the businesses what they are doing. I have one more example where the client is running the business in the different countries. Look at this example. Say the client is running the business in 4 countries: India, Singapore, France, and UK. So if this is a scenario, you may have a divisions based on the geography, okay, based on the regions. So I take an APAC as one division, EMEA as one division. Under APAC, these 2 countries will fall. There are many countries, but I take an example. This India and Singapore will falls under APAC division, and under EMEA, this France and UK. Accordingly, like for India business, they have a separate registration. So ERPTREE India legal entity. For Singapore, they have a separate registration. For each country, separate registration is required. ERPTREE Singapore legal entity. And for France, France legal entity. For UK, UK legal entity, separate registration. In India, say they are running the business in 2 locations. The 2 locations are taken as the 2 business units. Okay, Delhi and Hyderabad. These are the 2 locations where they are doing the business. The 2 I taken as a 2 business units. So in Singapore, they are running the business in only 1 location that I taken as a 1 BU, and in the France in 1 location, and UK 2 locations, 2 business units. For Delhi, 1 inventory they have, and for Hyderabad 1, for Woodlands 1 inventory, Paris 1. This is how just I taken, and for London I taken no inventory. Maybe in the London, whatever the business activities they are doing, that may be purely related to services. They might be doing some consulting services. In that case, they no need to maintain any inventory. That is the reason I taken no inventory. But when it comes to system reality, even they don't have any inventory for specific business unit, you have to create at least one dummy inventory in the system environment. Okay, without inventory, you cannot complete the relevant setups. So for your view, I taken bikes inventory, say they are dealing with the bike sales, etc. So this is how you can create the enterprise structure. Here, by looking at this enterprise structure, you can understand the client is operating the business in 4 countries, and in each country they should have a registration. That is the reason 4 legal entities, only one registration they have in each country. And in each country, in how many locations they are running the business, accordingly we have a business unit. How many warehouses they have, accordingly we created warehouses for each and every business unit. And the overall business they are running in 4 countries, where the 4 countries falls under 2 different regions. One is APAC and other one is EMEA. That we have taken into 2 different divisions. The 2 different divisions under same enterprise. But division concept is not mandatory. You see, most of the clients are not using, if you look at the real implementation, because division level you cannot perform the transactions. All this data you will fall under this APAC division, that you may use the division for reporting, but you cannot do any you cannot account any transactions. So without division, this is how this enterprise structure looks like. Okay, no divisions. So enterprise, under that, in how many countries you are running the business, those many primary ledgers for each country, separate legal entity. Under each legal entity, how many locations you are running the business, for each location, separate business unit. And reality, how they have warehouses. We have warehouses for each and every business unit. So this is what we have to understand. Now let's move to the spreadsheet. Okay. So on what base we have to decide the enterprises? How many enterprises we have to create for one client? For one client, we can create only one enterprise. Let client do the business in the multiple countries, but one client per one instance, only one enterprise we can create. Even if you are going to run the business in the multiple countries, everything need to be maintained under one enterprise. Say client is running the business in 4 countries. If you create one enterprise, under one enterprise you can maintain the employees information. When you are going to maintain employees information under one enterprise, how you can segregate country specific employees data? As a part of HCM applications, we have one concept called as legislative data group. LDG. By using the LDG concept, you can maintain the employees data country specific, and you can run the country specific payrolls. So even client is doing the business in 4 countries. If you are going to do the implementation for 4 countries, we can create only one enterprise. But country specific employees to maintain in the system, for each country we have to create separate LDG. You will create one LDG for US, one LDG for UK, one LDG for Singapore, one LDG for India. This is how you can create, and based on the LDGs you can maintain the employees information within the same enterprise with the tagging of this legislative data group. So only one LDG you have, only one enterprise you can have for one instance. And we are discussing employees information we can maintain within the enterprise definition. With the concept called as enterprise, yes, we can maintain the employees information. To maintain the employees information with the concept called as enterprise, we have to use certain applications. Which applications we can use? By using the HCM applications, you can do this. Human capital management. So that means the enterprise is mapped at, or say HCM applications are mapped at enterprise level. Okay, by using the enterprise concept, you can maintain the employees information. How many enterprises you can create in one instance? Only one enterprise. To maintain the employees information within the enterprise, we use applications called as HCM applications. So if you have multiple countries implementation, so to separate the data country wise, to separate the employees information separate country wise, we use the concept called as legislative data group. Even if you are doing the implementation for one country also, you have to create the legislative data group. Without legislative data group, you cannot maintain the country specific employees data, as well as you cannot run the country specific payrolls. So any questions on this point, please? Only this point. Other will discuss. Any questions here, please? Only to understand this point.
So Lakshman, so the concept we have in EBIS for business group.
Please.
So that
one second. Don't compare with the EBS. We have a separate discussion on that.
Okay.
Don't compare as a standalone vision. Any questions? What we are discussing, please. I'll cover that. That's what I said. The guys who are from EBS background, they have to compare and understand. Who are not from EBS background, they have to understand standalone. What is this?
Here, Lakshman, what are all these called? Enterprise division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unit. Is there a term to define all these things?
So these are, see, they given the separate names. This everything, this what we take in the hierarchy, this we call as enterprise structure. Okay. top level enterprise. Under that division, this is hierarchy, this will follow. For all these, what exactly this, if you want to understand this, simply you can call as enterprise units.
Enterprise units. Okay.
Employees working.
Because these all are part of enterprise. That is the reason you can call as enterprise units. Yeah, please go ahead.
Does HCM come under financials?
No. HCM doesn't come under financials. HCM is HCM, separate applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
So employees working in one LDG, can they work in another LDG?
Yeah, that assignments and all you can do with the HCM application. Possible.
Okay.
Employee
So for one enterprise, it will be under one LDG. So there will be one LDG which is assigned to a particular enterprise.
No, you can have a number of LDGs within the under one enterprise.
Okay, so what level is it being grouped?
What?
So is it being grouped at the see, suppose there are 5 countries employees which are in this enterprise.
Okay.
So will there be 5 LDGs?
Exactly. Country specific. LDGs is country specific. Now we'll create 5 countries, and what are the employees we create, we'll create specific to the country, and we'll run the payrolls also specific to the country based on the LDGs. Yes. Okay.
So we can say that the LDG is the number of LEs will be the number of
No, don't compare with LE. Okay.
Okay.
You might be running the business in US. So in that case, LDGs, one LDG is enough to maintain the US data. So running the business in US, say you have 4 different businesses. You may go with 4 different legal entities. That case, you are running the business in one country, one LDG for employees data, but based on the registrations, you may have 4 legal entities. So
okay, so one PL is one LDG? One PL. If there is only one PL, that means there is only one LDG.
Don't compare with anything that is different. See, you are running the business in US. So since you are running the business in US, you have to create one LDG. You have 4 different businesses. For 4 different businesses, you need 4 different chart of account structures. In that case, you will create 4 primary ledgers.
Yes.
But LDG is only one. LDG for employees. Don't compare with the legal entities, primary ledger, business unit, inventory. Yep.
So, in case you are not having an HCM application, then how does this employee data will be maintained?
Yes. If you are not going to implement HCM applications for your client, say you are implementing only financials, Oracle will allow you to create employees information as a shared service. They'll give you the option. When you are working on payables application or any other finance applications or HCM applications, so we need employee definition. So even if you don't have a subscription for HCM, still Oracle will allow you to create the employees. Before that, we have to create the legislative data group. First, we have to create LDG, then you can create the employees. Even if you don't take the subscription from Oracle, that means your client is not using the HCM, still you will be able to create LDGs and employees in the system environment to implement any application.
That LDGs can be created in the finance environment also.
Sorry?
LDGs can be created in the finance environment also.
Not finance environment. LDGs are belongs to HCM only, but that is shared, which is required for any application to maintain the employees. Even if you are not implementing HCM, Oracle will allow you to create the legislative data groups. We have to create. Then you can create employees. Those employees you can use for the finance. There is a dependency. That's the reason Oracle allows.
So even if we are not using HCM, still HCM will be installed in our system and we'll just use it for in a very basic manner to create the LDGs or maintain the employee data and sync it with HCM. Is what you are saying?
Yes.
Okay.
They will allow dependency setups even if you don't have a subscription for that relevant area. Yeah. Any other questions here, please? Fine. So that's all about enterprise. When it comes to division, already we discussed how many divisions we can create. That totally depends on the business. If you take each business as a one division, yes, accordingly you can create number of divisions. And if you take geographical area as a geographical area wise, if you want to create the divisions, as you can create. Or else you are running the business in one country, say in US you are running the business, and within the US same business you are running, but you are operating the business in the different locations. If you want to create east, west, north, south as a different divisions, or with a different classification, you may go with the divisions concept. But ideally it is a completely optional component. You see in the most of the implementation it's not used completely. So here completely you can take the decision. There is no standard rule to decide how many divisions are required. So this level, no applications are managed. Okay, no application.
So is it just for reporting purpose?
Yes, to build the hierarchy, how that enterprise will work, the hierarchy. To build the hierarchy, you can use the division. Accordingly, you may do that reporting in the organization. That's it. Yep. Not to record the transactions, not to control something. The other component is, or other unit is, primary ledger. Already discussed about primary ledger. To record any business transactions in any application, we require primary ledger. So when it comes to primary ledger, how many primary ledgers we have to create? For each country, one primary ledger. Okay. Country one. For one country, minimum we require one primary ledger. If you want to create more than one primary ledger also, you can create in one country, but generally that is not a great practice. In what scenarios you may want to create more than one primary ledger? Say for example, you are running the business in one country related to consulting business you have, and you have automobiles. So for generally what we do is, for consulting business, what segments we require? Okay, so for consulting or automobiles, ideally say we require segments like company we require, ideally department is required, account is required. These are very common generic segments in any business chart of accounts. For consulting business, you may need additional segment, one more segment. For consulting business, you may need one segment called as service type. Automobiles, you may just track what you can say, automobiles, some process you may need as one segment, or you may need one.
Maybe you can do project.
Sorry?
You can do project.
Project, yeah. If they are doing as a project activity, yes, that also required. It could be for consulting, you may need project, or automobiles, or anything else. Completely requirement how they want to manage. Say they are doing these two businesses, and based on these two businesses, this is how you can create the single chart of accounts. Okay. What is the common? You can take segments, and as per consulting, what we require as per automobiles, you can require, and you can take into one chart of account. Now you can create one primary ledger only. One chart of account means, yes, with one primary ledger you can go with the solution. But say your consulting business required 7 segments, your automobiles required 8 segments, or this require 9 segments, this require 8 segments. The common segments may be 2. Okay, total how many segments? Here 17 segment, common 2 means 15 segments. It is not recommended to go with the 15 segments. In that case, they may try to minimize, and so that everything they can take into one chart of account. If they say no, completely we want to maintain this chart of account information separately for consulting and automobiles, in that case you may create the separate chart of account for consulting and automobiles. For this COA1 will create, for this chart of account 2 will create. So you are running the business in one country only. For each business you want to maintain the separate chart of account, since you have a different segment need to capture each and every transaction. So this is a scenario where we go with a separate chart of account. Since separate chart of account, those two chart of accounts we cannot take into single ledger. That is the reason even client is running the business in one country, will go with a separate chart of account. If you see the reality nowadays or general implementations, we use a global chart of accounts. It's not like using multiple chart of accounts in one country. Even for multiple countries also we'll use the same chart of accounts. If your client is running the business in 10 countries, so we will design the chart of accounts which can be used for all the countries. If you are creating the primary ledger for India, the same chart of account will use. If you are creating the primary ledger for US, you will use the same chart of account. The chart of account, whatever we will create which will be best fit for any country transaction data. Since enterprise is the same, business also will be same more or less. They may have a different businesses. By understanding the different businesses business requirements, I mean to say reporting requirements, we'll create the single chart of account that can be used across the country primary ledgers that we call as global chart of accounts. Very generally, we don't go with the more than one chart of account for one country. For one chart of account, we'll plan to use for multiple countries. That is the reason generally you no need to create more than one primary ledger in one country. So here we have to take the point as how many primary ledgers we have to create for one country. For one country, one primary ledger is enough. If you have a specific business scenarios like this, those may demand to have a separate chart of account. Only the case we create the separate chart of account. Otherwise, generally when we are going to work, if you are working for any client already, or if you are when you work with the new clients and all, you will come across the scenarios where we finalize only one primary ledger for one country. Each country one primary ledger we have to create. If they want to have more than one, that totally depends on their business requirement. If they want to have a separate chart of account, generally we'll go with the separate primary ledgers. Otherwise, one primary ledger is enough for one country. Any questions on this, please?
Lakshman, if more than one country use the same calendar and currency, they use a single primary ledger.
1 second. I didn't say same chart of accounts and same currency. Only chart of account I said. The calendars can be different. Currencies definitely will be different.
I mean, if in Europe more than two countries use the same currency, then
wherever it is applicable, that's fine. But ideally, the general scenario, India, US, or other countries, there are cases that is fine. Accordingly, you can maintain. But ideally, chart of accounts only you can use as a common. The rest, if required, if it is applicable, you can use.
Lakshman, there is one other example. So if they have calendars, if the automobile wanted to use a different calendar and the consulting wanted to do the different calendar, also can be done, but I have not seen that also.
No, 1 second. Generally, you don't see that scenario. The reason is the business in same country. When business in same country, the financial year is same for consulting or automobiles. There won't be any separate calendars for this. Everybody has to follow the financial year which country follows. So in that case, it could be consulting, automobiles, or something else, or textiles. Whatever it may be the business, in which country you are running that business. What is the financial year for that country? Accordingly, we'll go with that. If they want to use separate, generally we use monthly only. Okay, we have to follow the financial year for that country. Any business should follow the same financial year in which country they have business. That's it. You generally don't come up with a requirement as different calendars in the same country. If somebody wants to have with some special exceptional reasons, exceptional cases, yes, they can have, but generally not at all required.
Yeah, but I have not seen also. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Fine.
Lakshman, for every chart of account, we need a separate primary ledger, or in a same primary ledger we create multiple chart of accounts.
No.
So what is it?
We have seen already, right? We created our primary ledger. How many chart of accounts we selected? Only one we selected. Only one can be selected. Only one. If more than one chart of accounts can be selected, you can even if you have multiple chart of accounts in one country for different businesses, everything you can manage in one primary ledger. That is not possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions here, please? No questions. Now let's talk about legal entity. So already discussed about legal entity. It's very simple. How many registrations client has, those many legal entities we have to create. Okay. For each registration, one LE, that's all. If client has 10 registrations to run the business in one country, 10 legal entities. Ideally for one country, one registration. For each country, separate registration. Okay, for a country wise, the legal bodies are different. So if you are running the business in 10 countries, minimum 10 registrations. For each country, one registration. Within one country, you have a different registration. So how many registrations you have, those many legal entities you require. You take the same example. You are running the business in US. So since business in US, even you have a different businesses also, you can go with one registration. That will work. But you want to have a separate registration for each business. Yes, in that case, two businesses, you can have a two registrations. Then you have to create the two legal entities. The two legal entities can be associated with the one primary ledger. That is possible. So this is the point we have to understand related to legal entities. How many registrations we have, those many legal entities we have to create. For each country, there should be minimum one registration, right? In every country, to do the business, you should go with the registration. Ideally, one is enough. If they have a multiple, accordingly, you have to create in the system. Any questions on this point, please?
So if two businesses are there, like consulting and automobiles, still one registration should suffice.
One is enough, yeah. Even if they have a 10 business also, in the memorandum, they can specify we are going to do so and so businesses. For that, we need registration. So for all those businesses with the same registration, they'll report to the government.
Okay.
So we'll attach to primary ledger in this case to one legal entity.
All legal entities will assign to primary ledger if they have multiple. If they have one they will assign to primary ledger. Yes.
Yeah, in this case, in this example, we are consulting an automobile. We are creating two chart of accounts, so two primary ledgers. So two primary ledger will be attached to one entity.
Yeah, correct. Each legal entity what we create for consulting, that will assign to consulting primary ledger. Legal entity what we create for automobiles, that will assign to automobiles primary ledger. Correct.
No. What I'm saying is, you created two primary ledger because you had different chart of account for consulting and automobile.
Yeah, that's what the primary ledgers I'm calling as consulting primary ledger, automobiles primary ledger.
Yeah, but I have only one registration, so I have only one legal entity, so I can assign these two.
No, that won't work. One legal entity you can assign to only one primary ledger.
Oh, okay.
So these are all points we have to calculate. One thing is in the
business. So in this case, we'll have to create new two legal entities.
Two legal entities, yes, you have to create that. Again, it will become some sort of duplication. That one more you have to create, but ideally one is not enough. So as a workaround, you may create with the same information other legal entity, but audit and all that will create issues. So that is the reason, as a best practice, we'll go with the one primary ledger. In that case, you won't be having any issues. Generally, you see businesses only one primary ledger would be there. That's it. If you have a separate registration, then yes, still you can go with the one primary ledger only. If you want to go with the separate, yes, in that case, legal entities also can be mapped separately. You may go with that. But general practice you see in the business implementations, one primary ledger is more than enough for one country. Let them have one or multiple registration, doesn't matter.
So legal entity and primary ledger will have one-to-one relation.
Correct. One legal entity you can assign to only one primary ledger. The same legal entity you cannot assign to other primary ledgers.
Okay, thank you.
Legal entity to primary ledger one-to-one. Okay.
Yeah, but there can be multiple LEs which are assigned to
many. Yeah, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there can be multiple LEs which are assigned to a PL.
Yeah, yes, that is possible. You can assign multiple LEs. That's what I'm saying. Legal entity to primary ledger one-to-one. Primary ledger to legal entities one-to-many. Okay. Legal entity you can assign to only one primary ledger. One legal entity can be assigned to only one primary ledger. But multiple legal entities can be assigned to one primary ledger.
It's confusing, Lakshman. Can you?
EL1, EL.
Can I say something? Just one small thing. I
One second,
think
let me complete this. I have LE1. So if I assign LE1 to PL1, the same I cannot assign to PL2 and PL3. Is it clear?
Okay.
Now I have LE2 also. Already assigned LE1 to PL1. LE2 also I can assign to PL1.
Okay. Okay.
That means I can assign 2 or more than 2 to one primary ledger. But if I assign LE1 to PL1, this same LE1 I cannot assign to PL2 or PL3. That means one legal entity can be assigned to only one primary ledger. You cannot assign the same legal entity to other primary ledgers, but multiple legal entities can be assigned to same primary ledger also. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, it's clear.
Thanks. Any other questions, please? Any questions here on this point, please?
I wanted to comment on one thing. There is two CEO chart of accounts is just you can ignore completely because we don't see as much to get confused. That's what I think.
That's true, but to make you guys means everyone or who wants to understand, I'm just giving that example, and the bottom line I was telling the same point. Ideally, we don't go with that. But here and there, you could see in the reality, there are few clients who are using. That's true. Okay. It may not be the best practice, but still some clients are using. That's what we should understand these points also. But finally, what I'm trying to say, we don't go with this kind of approach. Ideally, for one country, we'll go with one primary ledger. You say one primary ledger, one chart of account. Along with that, we discussed one point. Even we plan to have a single chart of accounts for multiple countries, which we call as global chart of accounts. Okay. The reason which I am addressing, if somebody is attending as very new in these sessions, tomorrow if somebody is going to ask the question, so in which scenarios we can have more than one primary ledger in one country, there should be minimum content for them to talk about. Since this is true, but we don't suggest, but this is a possibility. Then, any other questions, please? Okay, so that's what you have to understand about legal entity. Now let's talk about business units. It's very, very essential to understand more detail level. So what makes the business unit? So very simple. There are different cases on what parameters will decide your business unit. So you can decide business units based on the locations. That is one of the option. Okay, maybe based on the location. Say you have a business in 5 locations. You have business in the 5 locations. You can create 5 BUs. I'll take you through other examples also. Okay. It's a very generic practice. Most of the companies will follow. So client has running the business in one country, that with the 5 locations. For each location will create in the system as a 5 business units. Each location will create as a separate business unit. If you take example 5 locations, 5 business units. So why we are taking this each location as a business unit? In each business, each location, what are the transactions they are recording, they have to maintain with the more security. That means in the location 1, what are the transactions they are recording, that should not be accessed by location 2 or location 3 people. That means you want to keep the data security. And you want to have a reporting separately. If client is running the business in 4 locations, when you say 4 locations, simply those 4 locations you can call as 4 branches also, right? It could be location or branch. So branch wise or location wise, we want to prepare the separate reports. Okay. And based on the branch or location, whatever the transactions you are doing, to set a control on the transaction process. Okay, so you can say transaction control. To set a control on the transaction, say in so and so branch, whatever the approach they follow, that may be different from other branch for certain transactions. That we call as transaction control. Okay, one is data security. Along with the data security, you can say simply data segregation also. Data segregation, data security, and to prepare the report separately, branch wise or location wise, or to set a control on the transactions which are processed in the specific location or branch, we have to go with a separate business unit concept. Say if you take example of this, if you take this example, client is running the business in 5 locations, or say client has 5 branches. In that case, we'll create the 5 business units. Now, how many companies? Say company is only one. Say company, for example, I'll take the entity name is consulting services. Only one business they are doing. The same one business they are doing in how many locations? 5 locations, or say 5 branches they have. So business is the only one. The company is a consulting business. Okay, company is consulting services. But we are creating 5 business units. What are the business they are operating in the 5 branches? They have to track each and everything separately. They want to segregate the data, and they want to maintain the security among those data, and they want to generate the reports. Which branch is spending how much? Which branch is generating how much revenue? Okay, and everything they want, and they want to keep the data security where the branch 1 people should not have access to branch 2 within the system environment. To come up with all these conditions in the system environment, those 5 locations or 5 branches which are belongs to this consulting business will create as a 5 operating units. As per EBS, in Fusion we call as a business units. Let's ignore that operating unit. Okay. So this is a benefit. If you go with the operating unit, business unit, the data security you can maintain, reports you can generate separately, since you are going to record the transactions separately BU wise, and you can have a transaction control each and every BU wise when you are processing the transactions. So if you have a 5 branches, you will create 5 business units, or else say you are running the business in 5 locations, you will create 5 business units. Here how many entities we have? Only one entity, consulting service. What about the companies in the chart of accounts? When you create the chart of account, we have a segment called as company. Reality, how many companies we have? Only one company, consulting services. So in that case, so we will create how many business units we have as per business, those many companies will create here. So here, how many companies you have to create? Now, based on the number of business units, you have to create the company. What names you will give for the companies? Maybe BU names. Okay, the BU names you can give as a company names. That's how you do the mapping. Okay, how many business units you have, ideally those you will take as a companies into primary ledger chart of accounts. This is one example. I'll take another example. So other example, the client is doing consulting services. Okay, case 1. Case 2 is client is into consulting services. They are running the business in only one location. Say they are running the business in Dallas. Okay, they are running the business in only one location, Dallas. Business is, the entity is consulting. They are doing the business in only one location. So in that case, we will create only one BU. And when it comes to your chart of accounts, the companies list, how many companies will have? Only one only. So instead of taking the BU name here in the companies, simply you will take here entity is 1, the business unit also 1. You don't need to segregate with the names. Here you will create the company as only one, that you take consulting business, which you will be mapping with this business unit. Okay. So the same entity name you will take as a company name. Only one entity. The entity name will be consulting services. Even business unit name also you can take as a consulting services. If the same consulting services say you have in the 2 locations, in that scenario you will take, say you have in the Austin also. Now 2 business units. So when you are creating the business units, you will give the business unit name like this. This 2 business, Dallas one, Austin one. In that case, you can create BU name as Dallas Consulting Services. Okay. Austin Consulting Services. And if 2 business units you have for this business, okay, the same 2 will take as a 2 companies into your chart of accounts. That's all. Company 1 or 1000, any numbering you can give. Sorry. You may give number, any number you can give. Names would be this. Sorry, not here. Yeah. Okay, any code you can give. Company codes you can decide how to give, but actually these would be the companies. That means ideally the business units will map as the companies into chart of accounts. How many companies, how many business units you finalized as per solution, accordingly you have to list out those as the companies in the chart of accounts. Reality always companies means not real companies. Those represents our business units. If you take example here, only one entity, one company, but when you look into your chart of accounts, you will see the same as Dallas Consulting Services and Austin Consulting Services. I'll take another example. Case 3. Here I'll take client is into 2 different businesses. One is consulting and the other one is automobiles. Now client is doing the business in only one location. Client is doing the business in only one location, Dallas. Now tell me how many business units you have to create. Anyone please?
2.
2 business units, ideally 2. But if they have a requirement of producing the reports irrespective of its data is related to consulting or automobiles, they can go with 1 BU also, but generally no client will go with that. Since 2 businesses, yes, definitely they'll go with the 2 business units. 2 businesses they are doing in the Dallas. The Dallas, whatever the consulting related business they are doing and automobiles they are doing, definitely they have to track separately. In that case, they'll have a 1 BU as a Dallas Consulting Business Unit. The other one is Dallas Automobiles Business Unit.
Lakshman, there is one question over here. So because the consulting and automobiles, if there are 2 different registrations, so if there are 2 different registrations, that means there will be 2 different LEs, right?
Yes.
Yes, and then it will be 2 different BUs.
BU level will map respect to legal entity. Okay, Dallas BU level will map the separate legal entity what we have for consulting, that will map at consulting BU level, and automobiles, whatever the registration we have, that legal entity will map with this automobiles business unit. That's it. Accordingly, we'll map in the BUs and the legal entities.
And both of them will be under one PL because it is yes, because it's in one country and the chart of account is same.
Yes.
Lakshman, if we have a group of companies, then each company will have multiple business units. How do you
example?
Yeah. Let us say your ERPTREE is one company, is the group. Under that you have ERP, whatever, automobile ERP consulting. And then ERP consulting has multiple business units. and ERP automobile has multiple business units.
What is your question?
Then my guess is first segment goes to company, second segment goes to business unit. Is that correct or no?
No. The company, how many business units you have, those will take as a company segment values. That is the point we are discussing. Okay, within the chart of accounts, we are creating the segments, right?
Yeah.
See, yeah, I got it. I think you are expecting to know with a different point. I'll cover that also. Okay, I'll take that case also.
Okay.
For example. Yeah, fine.
One question here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to take a little different example here. I'm going into subsystem here.
One second. I have one more example. I'll complete it. If that is it's not going to be covered, you can raise that question. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, please. So this example,
One question.
everyone, right? Yeah, please.
There are multiple business units, so and not two business unit can't see their transaction just because of security. So is there any super user who can watch all the business units transactions basically?
Yes. If you give access, how many business units you are giving access to specific user, those many BUs they can access. That's it. It's all about giving access.
Okay.
By default, if you have access to Dallas consulting business unit, you cannot see other BUs data by default. If you get access, you can see other BUs data also, not by default. Yep. If you get access, you can see. Otherwise, if you get access to Dallas consulting business unit, by default, you can see the data related to that only. You cannot see other BUs data. If you get access to other BUs also, you can see. That's it.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah. Now take the case, same like consulting and automobiles, they have a business in Dallas and say Austin also. Now here you have to create two more business units. For each business, you have to create separate business unit for Austin also. Fine. Now, so ideally that BU level only, everything you will be recording the transaction. The real transaction will be recording at BU level. That's how it happens. Now I am taking the same as case 4. Same I am taking as case 4. Now your requirement is you have 4 BUs based on this scenario. Now your requirement is in each and every transaction level, not only at BU wise, you want to track the transaction, even that vertical of business wise also you want to track. So in that case, if you have a separate registration for this, accordingly you can create the chart of accounts. So I am taking example of LE1. For consulting, you have a separate legal entity. And automobiles, you have a separate legal entity. Okay. So you call it as, or else let's write it as consulting legal entity and automobiles legal entity. Now 2 legal entities you have for 2 different businesses. Where you are operating, based on that you have a business units. Now when you create the chart of accounts, ideally the business unit based values will maintain within the chart of accounts as a company, department, account, etc. Now these 4 companies, 4 business units will take as a 4 companies in this. But for each and every transaction, along with the tracking this business unit information, you want to track this consulting business, these businesses also, these 2 businesses you have or 3 businesses you have, those you want to capture. In that case, you can have a segment called as legal entity also. Within the chart of account, you can have a segment called as legal entity. So in the legal entity, you will take these 2 legal entities here, so that what are the transactions you are going to enter, that is belongs to consulting or automobiles, you can select. Then under that, what are the business unit you have, accordingly you can select the company. So what level you want to balance the transaction, you can take the decision. Ideally, since a business unit level only will balance. Or else say, for example, you are running the business, these two businesses you are running, two you are running in one location only. In that case, your legal entities and business units are same. For consulting business, we have only one legal entity. Okay. For consulting business, we have only one business unit. For automobiles, we have one legal entity. For automobiles, we have only one legal entity, one business unit. So there is no difference. So in that case, you no need to go with a company segment also. Company segment is not required. How many business units you have, those you can take as a directly legal entities only. So here business unit names also ideally you can create in the system as a consulting legal entity. This could be legal entity name, business units names. This is how you can write, nothing wrong. So legal entities you are representing as your business units. So here no segment related to company, directly legal entity only will be acting as your two companies. So two businesses you are doing, two separate registrations you have, then you can go with this case. Or else for both you have only one registration. If you have for both one registration, in that case, you no need to go with a legal entity. You should have a company definitely, because we have a two values. If you go with only one registration for these two, if you are selecting only one, what about the segregation of business units where you are operating business? You have two legal entities, and for each legal entity you have a separate business unit, then both are same. You can go with the business company or legal entity, both are same. You can decide which one you have to select. So this is another case which you have to understand. Any questions here, please?
Lakshman, I have one question. More with respect to legal entity, business unit, and company code. So if I am right, the business unit is equivalent to the company code of EBS. That's my first understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Okay.
Every BU will take a company code.
Company code, okay. And the legal entity is the same as the legal entity how it was in EBS too.
Exactly, as it is. Same.
To my knowledge, legal entity is generally a local jurisdiction to which a company code has to abide to a local jurisdiction. Correct. Why would I have two legal entity in the same location?
No, I'm not suggesting, I'm not telling this is how the scenario would be. If you have a separate registration, take example Tata Group. Okay. They have TCS. Under Tata Group, they have TCS, Tata Consulting Services, Tata Motors. Do you think if they are running this Tata TCS and Tata Motors within the India only, they are doing the business say within India, do you think separate registration they have for this Tata?
You will have separate registration for the companies. I agree with that, but the legal entity has still the same, right? It has to be India.
No, each registration only will create as a legal entity in the system.
You can have, I mean, technically possible what you're saying, but as per the business, will it be possible for me to have separate legal entities for every registration?
Yes.
Is it even just trying to understand?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what we do.
Okay.
Please let me know. Yeah, that's what we do. Otherwise, record the transaction, how system will understand the specific company transaction should be reported to as per which registration.
I will create India legal entity and have that legal entity associated to both the companies.
Sorry?
I'll have India legal entities, legal entity created in India, and then have that legal entity associated to both the business units, right?
Which business units both means?
As per your example, Tata Consulting Services.
And if that is true, if you have only one registration, yes, both you can assign. One legal entity you can assign to 1,000 also, 1,000 business units. Possible.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no. One legal entity is associated with n number of business units. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing which was confusing for me was you had used Dallas as the location, right? Dallas is one location. I cannot have multiple legal entities in one location. Is my concern. Or,
no. Just one locations in the sense business-wise location, business-wise legal entities. That is the point how to understand. Business.
Okay.
not by default with the same business wise different legal entities.
Okay.
Have such kind of scenario again. Okay, even if you have two businesses in one location, you can go with one legal entity, right? In that case, this statement is wrong.
In your experience, what is the general practice? Usually, I mean, not to confuse everyone, but in general, as a best practice, is it for a location or for a country or for
two scenarios? I have seen the two scenarios, but in most of the cases, one legal entity only.
I see. Okay. All right. Thanks. That helps.
Yep. Okay. This is what we have to understand about the business unit concept. The business unit concept can be derived based on your legal entities sometimes, otherwise based on the locations where you are operating the business, or based on the nature of business what you are doing. These are the various parameters how you can just decide how many business units are required. Ideally, the business units only will take as a company values. The business units are equal to companies. There are some other scenarios also. If you start discussing, you will get into the confusion if you are new, or if you are not new to these applications, you might be knowing those. Okay, this information is enough to understand. So to start with this, any questions on the same, please? Okay. The next one is inventory organization. Okay, the next one is inventory organization. It's very simple. How many warehouses client has, those many inventory organizations we have to create in the system. When you are doing the implementation for any client, how many inventory organizations we have to create? It's very simple. Check with the client how many warehouses they have. Those many inventory organizations we have to create. If client says they have a 10 inventory organizations, 10 warehouses, we'll create 10 warehouses in the system. And in the system point of view, we'll create one virtual inventory also, that we will discuss as a part of P2P cycle. As of now, as a part of enterprise structure, try to understand how many warehouses client has, those many we have to create in the system as those many inventory organizations. These are the points we have to understand. So now here, when it comes to mapping, how many enterprises? Only one enterprise for one instance, one client. How many divisions? That totally depends. So enterprise level, which applications you can map? HCM. Division level, no application. When it comes to primary ledger is required everywhere to record the transactions. How many primary ledgers? Ideally, one primary ledger is enough. In most of the implementation, you could see only one primary ledger, until unless they have a different businesses, a different chart of account or different registrations, etc. That only demands for more than one, but that may not become great practice. Most of the implementations will go with only one primary ledger. So how many this primary ledger is mapped at which application level? Okay, primary ledger level, which applications we can map? So GL application is mapped at primary ledger level, as well as FA also. Fixed assets application also mapped at primary ledger level. And legal entity. So registration information, for each registration one legal entity is required. When it comes to applications, which applications are mapped at LD? Yeah, please.
One question I had, Lakshman, are you going to cover even the concept of secondary and reporting ledgers?
Everything will cover. You can check the course content.
Okay, thanks.
Please. Okay. So legal entity level, we map the application called as cash management. Okay, the bank accounts are owned by which company, that can be represented with the legal entity only. And business unit level will map the most of the applications. Our applications AP, ER. Okay, GLFA already mapped at primary ledger level, cash management at legal entity level. The CAP, ER and PO application, order management application, fusion expense application. There are many other applications, project costing, billing. All these applications are mapped at business unit level. That means when you are recording the transactions in payables, for example, if you are recording the transaction, you will be selecting specific BU. You are recording the transaction for which BU, you have to select accordingly. You will maintain the data security and the reports you can generate, and you can enable the transaction control for the transactions which you are going to record. So most of the business transactions can be processed at BU level. When it comes to inventory organization, the inventory organization level ideally will map inventory applications, and there are a few other manufacturing applications also. Those anyway we don't require. So this is what we have to understand. Okay, this is how we create the enterprise structure, the fusion applications. For what purpose we create, to maintain which data. These are the points. How many we create, we discussed On what base we'll decide how many we have to create, and what are the applications are mapped. This is what we have to understand. Reality, when you do the implementation, this is what we have to present to your client house. We have to explain to the client when we are bringing this data into system environment, how that is going to be managed within the system environment, with which concept, what level, what data can be maintained, which applications can be mapped at what level. Now, definitely the client question would be, so where we can generate our reports. Ideally, the data, the transactions what we create, those will create at business unit level. Okay, so reports you can create at BU level. BU level you can create any reports, but ideally all the BU's data we will send to primer ledger. Data will be available in the primer ledger, but the data would be available based on the BU. If you create the transaction of the BU1 that will create in the business unit, the data will goes to primer ledger. For every BU will have some code. For BU1 you may have a number as 1000, BU2 2000, BU3 3000. This is how you can have a number. You will create transaction 1000 means that it belongs to BU1. When you send this data to GL, the GL also you can see the same data that is belongs to 1000. That means that is related to BU1. So that's how just any reports we create at BU level only. Reason that the actual business transaction will record at BU level only. But the place to prepare the reports, that would be primer ledger. We'll create the data, BU specific data, that will send to general ledger. Okay, primer ledger means that goes to general ledger application. So within the general ledger we'll prepare the reports, but that is based on the BU data only. So what level you can prepare the reports means place doesn't matter where we prepare, but level is BU only. BU level will record the transactions, BU level only you can perform the reporting. So these are the points we have to understand about enterprise structure. Any questions on this, please?
If required, for every business unit, we have to create a different chart of accounts, if required.
Sorry, if required?
If required, we have to create different chart of accounts for different for business units.
We never create a separate chart of accounts for business units. Chart of accounts we create for primer ledger.
Earlier you said that first we have to take the business unit as a company. Earlier you said that we have to take the legal entity as a business unit. So for two different business units, we have to create different chart of accounts.
No. Everything if that is a scenario, you instead of taking the BUs as a companies, you can take those. If the scenario is based on the legal entities, accordingly you can take whatever it may be. You can take into company segment, or you can create segment called as legal entity. Chart of account would be only one. In any scenario, one.
If it depends on business unit to business unit, location to location wise, if it is depends, then we have to change chart of accounts accordingly.
So you cannot change the chart of accounts. When you are designing the chart of account only, you will come to know how many business units you are going to have. Accordingly, you have to maintain all those. You cannot change chart of account once you create primer ledger.
Okay. In one location there is only one business unit, and in a second location there is 5 business units. So in one business unit we have to deal with legal entities.
Create 6 then. Create 6 in the chart of accounts. In one location you have 1 BU, in other location you have 5. Total 6 business units, right? Create 6 companies in the chart of account. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the point. Simple. How many business units you have, those many you create in the chart of account as a companies. That's it. That's how you have to do the mapping. Fine. That's all about enterprise structure and the fusion applications. Let's compare this enterprise structure with EBS multi-org structure. Okay, the guys who are from EBS, now they can proceed with the questions once we complete this discussion. So in fusion, this is how we have enterprise structure, right? Now, who are not aware of this EBS, ignore these points, but just stay tuned to understand. If you don't understand, no issues. So the same enterprise structure in EBS we call as multi-org structure. EBS multi-org structure, in fusion we are calling as enterprise structure. Multi-org structure. Multi-org stands for multiple organizations. Multiple organization structure. As per multi-org, how we have a hierarchy. At top level we have a concept called as business group. We call as BZ. Under business group, you have a primary ledger. Here. Under primary ledger, you have a legal entity as per EBS. Under legal entity, you can have an operating unit. Under operating unit, you have inventory organization. This is a multi-org structure as per EBS. So what is the purpose of business unit? To manage the employees' information with the help of HRMS applications. Okay. So here you can maintain the employees' information with HRMS application. Same with the enterprise. But in EBS, you can create n number of business groups. For each country, you can create the separate business group. But in the Fusion, so enterprise level, you cannot create multiple enterprises based on the country. But within the Fusion applications, as a part of HCM, equal to business group, you have a LDC, right? That already discussed. But remember, LDC is not part of enterprise structure. LDC is part of HCM. But here in the multi-org structure, we have a business group. You can create a number of business groups, but here you can create only an enterprise. If you compare multi-org, EBS multi-org with the Fusion enterprise, equal to business group, we don't have any concept within the enterprise structure level. Okay, business group is not equal to enterprise. EBS business group is equal to Fusion LDC. This is a point we have to understand. And enterprise only one you can have, but here for each country you can have a separate business group, or multiple countries also you can create one business group that completely you can manage with HRMS solution. And in Fusion we have a division concept. In EBS we don't have any division concept. This is a new one which Oracle introduced, but that is not mandatory, completely optional. You could see in most of the implementation there is no usage of this division, since no accounting can be done at division level, no applications are mapped at division level. And primary ledger as a primary ledger, legal entity as a legal entity. In EBS, whatever the operating unit we have, that we are calling as business unit in the application, the functionality wise, behavior wise, there is no different, as it is the name only they changed. In EBS inventory organization, the Fusion we are calling as inventory organization. No difference, only the business unit equal to business unit. In Fusion, we have LDZ. These two are not equal. Okay, don't say EBS business unit is equal to Fusion enterprise. No, EBS business unit is equal to Fusion LDZ, but LDZ is not part of enterprise. There is no division concept in EBS, since reality that is not required. There was no business division in the EBS, but here they are given optional. If somebody wants to use to build their hierarchy, enterprise hierarchy structure to represent in the different processes, they can use it. Ideally, accounting cannot be done. So rest as it is, name only they changed the operating unit to business unit. Any questions from anyone? Please.
Lakshman, you said that in Fusion we can create a segment with a name as LE, but that we can't do in EBS, right?
Everywhere we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Segment creation, name you will give as LE. How many LEs you have, those many you will be entering into that field. That means for each LE you have only one company, one register, one place only you are running. See, you have a 5 legal entities, means 5 different businesses. All you are running in one location only. That means your legal entities are same, your business units also same. So in that case, you can take the name as a company, or you can take the segment name as a business unit within the chart of account, or you can take as a legal entity. All are same, 555. Anyone you can take, doesn't make any difference. How you want to refer, that's how you can give the segment name.
Okay, so then we have to define the LE as the balancing segment.
Exactly. Each LE you will create as a balancing segment. That's all.
Okay.
Each LE will be
how do
business unit also. All are same. Please.
how do we group between division and, like, what is the grouping, division and what? Legal entity?
Sorry? How do we?
So we create a division. To division, what do we assign, like a legal entity or business unit?
So division, ideally, under division, primary ledger and all will fall. When you create the division, you will be associating which primary ledger will fall under the division, and that primary ledger which legal entities will fall. This is the hierarchy you have to maintain. Okay, for divisions, we will associate primary ledgers. 2 primary ledgers will associate legal entities. 2 legal entities will associate business units. 2 business units will associate inventory organization. This is how you do the mapping. Yep. Directly, we don't associate legal entity with the division. Under division, you have primary ledger. Which primary ledger falls under which division, you have to specify. Under which primary ledger, which legal entity is associated, that we have to specify. Same hierarchy you have to follow.
But if we are saying that certain company follow a global chart of account, in that case, we might have one primary ledger for.
That's wrong. One second. If you have global chart of account, don't think we'll have a global ledger. No, we'll have a country specific ledgers. Reason currencies are different. Country. Okay. Every country will have a separate primary ledger, but all primary ledgers will use same chart of accounts. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions, please? This is what really we have to understand. Okay. Based on this understanding only, when we are discussing the client, you can just tell to the client how things can be managed in the application in terms of solution accordingly. After sitting with the client, after having the discussions, this is how it works. We'll be telling, they'll be asking. Once we are clear about it, you will be able to suggest the enterprise structure as per their business, what would fit reality, how they are doing the business. Okay. If you don't have any questions, we can wind up for today. The next session, we'll see how to create all these one by one, because everything we are going to create within our own environment only will be working. Okay. We are not going to use any existing data. We'll create everything how reality we do in the real-time implementation. Any questions, please?
Yes, Lakshman, if suppose 2 countries are having the same currency, then there can be one PL only. If 2 countries are having the same currency,
okay,
and then they can have only one PL because the chart of accounts will be same, right?
Yeah, based on that point, you cannot decide, but you have to consider the calendar also.
Calendar also, yes. Okay.
If they have everything, all are same, then you can go with only one. Okay. If multiple countries are going to have same, then you can have same, including the accounting method also. So calendar same, currency same, accounting method, calendar same, currency same, and chart of account is same. Even these 3 are same. The accounting rules, what they want to use, if that is different across the countries, again, you cannot go with a one primary ledger. But generally, ideally, one primary ledger for one country. Yes, since to understand the scenario, yes, you can have a one primary ledger for multiple countries also if you have everything same, but generally that you don't see anywhere. Okay. Any other questions, please?
And if we create one primary, if we create one primary ledger for multiple countries, in any case, if we want to close a business in one country, then it's possible.
If you use one primary ledger for multiple countries, that is your question, right?
And yes, or if we want to close a business in one country, after some time we need closure of the business, then it's possible.
It would be closed for all, because all are using the same ledger. Ledger level, you do the closing, not country level.
Okay. So the 2 countries are using same primary ledger. If
that is not a valid case, okay, don't think about it. You don't need to discuss and understand about which is not very much valid. Okay, ignore it, please. Nowhere use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. If it is useful, definitely we can spend time on that. We can go with the different cases, but nowhere you see that. Since the possibilities we are discussing, what base and all, that point came into the picture. That's all. Any other questions, please?
Lakshman, not related to the today's session, but related to Google Drive access. So I've sent you a mail a couple of times. So can you please provide me that?
1 second. Yeah, I'll just check and I'll share. Okay, please reply to today meeting link so that I'll send immediately. I'm sorry if I could not send earlier. Okay, send.
Okay, sure.
Today meeting link, I'll do it immediately. Fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions from anyone on today's session or on previous classes, please?